Goodness gracious, we are back. And I'm wearing this around my shoulders like a high school drama teacher, because we had it in the thumbnail. When we took that photo, it was a lot cooler than it is now, and now it's pretty hot. So this, I think we'll dispense with. How is everyone doing today? I am now back in the old studio. The Peruvian adventure is sadly at an end, so there will be no more ice cream elephants. But it is good, as always, to be home. Good to have the lighting more sort of set up. Good to have a little bit more of a soundproof room, a little bit better of a mic setup. So everything should be hopefully a little bit smoother and more pleasant. Thank you, Lucy, for the all clear technically. So today, I think we should have a little bit of fun, because we've been toying around with this idea of language contact between the Kal and Sakrat families. And we're going to need a history. We're going to need to do a little bit of world building, because we have all of these languages and these protoforms, and we need to know which ones are spoken roughly at the same time, so that we know which languages or which stages of which languages are going to have effects on which stages of which languages. So that's, I think, the basic plan for today, is to start with that. And then we could do, I think, maybe a little bit more poetry, but this time in Lenethailef. Maybe we can even translate our poem from last time. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the first Thursday stream in quite some time, in about 2 months. And I'm all unpacked now, so we should be more regular, twice a week. And I guess, I don't know, why don't we jump in? I think we should jump in. Let's jump in. So I'll do the YouTube intro. Or maybe I should bring the sweater for that. YouTube. The seasons have changed. It is no longer winter. It is right in the middle of spring. So let's get rid of this sweater. Love you, sweater, but, we may not need you for a while if all goes according to plan. So what are we going to do today? Well, we need to start doing our first little bit of world building, because we need to know what languages were spoken at the same time as other languages. We have this whole big tree for Sakrat. We have a few languages for the Kal family, and we need to figure out what's spoken when, so we can set up some language contact situations. So that's the plan. And I think what we need to do is just push me down into the corner there. There we go. And behold, we have a new spreadsheet. This is the official world building spreadsheet. And we're only going to be able to do very basic stuff today, because I am not an artist. I am a humble linguist. We do have an artist on staff. I don't know if her name rhymes with Trucy. So maybe we can convince her to help us out. But we're going to do sort of some rough outline. How many continents are we talking about? How many hundreds of years are spoken, or how many hundreds of years have elapsed between one form of language and the other? This is the rough kind of thing we're going to talk about. And so I think the format for that is we have a column here called years before present, and we can just sort of go down to the bottom and say 0. And this will be the present day. And then what we'll do across the top is have different regions. So let's talk about, we have the Fragrant Coast. We know at least that region exists. So we have the Fragrant Coast, and then we have a bunch of other regions. Region B. Nope, that's irrelevant. Yeah, I'm back on a Windows machine, which I don't think I can really get the sweet spot in terms of technical setup. Either I'm on a Mac, which I know how to use, but I'm on someone else's keyboard, or I'm in my studio and I'm using Windows, which I'm no good at. But nevertheless, we persevere. So B, C, D. Who knows what these are? We'll come up with some names for them at some point. And then, or maybe we can go with our old favorite B1, B2, B3, and then region C1. So these would be different continents. Again, with this has never been something I wanted to do. Yeah, so as I always like to say, part of the joy of this channel, I think, is watching me struggle with interfaces. Yeah, region B is going to be so we have, let's say we have roughly 3 continent style things. We have A, we have B. We'll figure out a way of making Cortana work with one of the languages here. And we have other regions, B2, B3, C1, C2, C3. So let's use our favorite way of distinguishing between these things, which is cool colors. So we have our continent B here. And let's put, what are we going to do for B? No, I did it wrong again. Wrong again, sir. It's a bit, there we go. And then C could be something maybe like not like that. There we go. So we have 3 kind of regions, and maybe we'll put the fragrant coast in A as well. So we could call these continents or what have you. And essentially what we're going to have is something like 100, 200, 300. I don't know if Google Sheets is going to let me fill this up. Let's see. Yeah, that sort of worked. Sort of. I had one too many selected. Look at that. That's called technology. That's called innovation right there. Okay, we probably don't need fully 4,500, but there we have it. Okay, so this is our palette right now. I'm hearing a request for green. All right, well, you know what we do if we need green? We need a green continent. It's a bit too subtle. There we go. Okay, so we know that on the fragrant coast in column A, or in continent A, Eustamia call is going to be spoken. And it's going to be spoken at some point. I haven't really thought of whether it's going to be contemporary from the point of view of this world building project. Obviously, there isn't really a present in the world building project, but there's, I guess, a point up to which you've written, and that could be thought of as the present. So why don't we say that Eustamia call is spoken 1,000 years before this arbitrary point, this zero date. And this will be a start. All right. So we also have Lenethailef. And of course, we don't know anything else about this A continent other than Eustamia is in it. Now, given that the call languages are kind of related, they should probably, I don't know. It makes sense that they would be spoken on the same continent unless something has happened to some sort of migration. So we could put Lenethailef in this mysterious region here, and we could make it contemporary or maybe slightly later than Eustamia. And of course, the language is not just spoken. Well, language isn't static, but we can talk about rough periods that are going to make historians have something to write about. So maybe the Eustamia period is like this, and the Lenethailef period is more like more like this, like a 500-year or so period. Let's make that bold. And so these two could come into contact. Maybe Ustamia branches off into some other languages. All right. Gonna catch up on the chat now. Quayne, yeah. I think we're on the same page of this. Ustamia does feel a little bit older or more conservative than Lenethailef is, for sure. Elijah, the scale, I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do about the scale. So we can think of these little areas as like nodes or something, and we don't even know which is close to which other one, other than that the continents are somewhat connected. But maybe A is close to C3. We can be totally agnostic about that, and we could just sort of make it work how we want. So we could interpret them as some subcontinents. We could interpret them as one as an archipelago, which I think we want to do for the Sakrat languages at least. So Lenethailef, we were going to want to be, since that was our idea for one of the languages to come into contact, we want this region to be accessible to another region where we can get some of these Sakrat languages coming in. So I guess we should decide then where we want the Sakrat languages to. Oh no. Let's stick with Kal for now. And let's see, maybe we could talk about Proto-Kal as being reconstructed roughly 2,000 years before the present. And we could put this in bold. And this is, of course, a proto-language, whereas Ustamia and Lenethailef are attested languages. And this is the period during which we have texts, I guess. I'm just arbitrarily asserting that these are written languages, but I think that's fine. And then I'm putting the Proto-Kal homeland in this question mark region. You can call it region A1. Just because we don't have any other places for it. And I think I'd rather not have it in the Fragrant Coast, because we're naming this language after the Fragrant Coast. And I don't know, that's not a very convincing argument, but nevertheless, just an instinct. So the Sakrat are, have their origins at least in sailing cultures. So they can go where they like as long as there's a coast. So let's figure out where our Sakrat speakers are going to come from. I think it would be cool. Let's take a look at where's Sakrat? Here it is. So let's bring this over just a bit. And let's look at our comparative lexicon here. So we have three main branches of Sakrat. Sakrat A, which is very conservative, and we haven't really played with too much yet, other than to mess around with some affix, to turn our formerly analytic language into something that's starting to look a little more synthetic. So that's going to happen. Where were we? So that's the A branch. Then we have the B branch, which undergoes all this tonogenesis in different branches, reduces vowels, has all sorts of stuff happen to it. This is going to be one that I'd like to see spread out over lots of different islands. And then we have the C branch, which kind of takes a different route, and it doesn't undergo tonogenesis in any of its, we only really have one language that we've fleshed out for the C branch, but what was I saying? Yeah, so this one is going to be the language that comes into contact with Lenethailef. So maybe that's a starting point. So let's bring this back over here. And we can say that maybe towards the end of this period, we have kranzlor in this region. Maybe 200 years of contact here. And then maybe something happens, which we'll get into later. So then where did kranzlor come from? I think we could, for the sake of keeping our minds, of making this easy for us to understand, we can maybe say it comes from this B region. So we have kranzlor being spoken here in Cortana. And unless, hey, Quinn just had a good idea. Why don't we have this be kind of circular? So to keep things in our minds, let's assume that anything that is adjacent is kind of touching. So adjacent to the spreadsheet, including A1 and D, are able to influence each other. There is, we're going to have to do more than that, but this is a good starting point. So kranzlor, and we'll just have this exist here. And that's kind of cool. So then what else do we have? So we have Proto C, the Sakrat C branch. So I'm thinking that might have to be reconstructed to here. Protosakrat C. Get us a little more space here. And for some reason, it doesn't scroll the chat for me. Question about the climate of the fragrant coast. Yeah, that's a good question. So I think it all depends on what we want this coast to be fragrant with. It's a question that I've left unanswered thus far. Let's ponder. I don't have strong opinions, and we also have to get into all the good stuff of like tectonic plates and prevailing winds and climate zones and all of these kinds of things that I know a lot less about. So I kind of want to leave us some wiggle room for now, in case we want to put the fragrant coast somewhere that has a climate that we hadn't thought before. All right, let's scroll down a bit. Sutton, welcome back from the dentist. Yeah, kranzlor seems like it should be separate from the other Sakrat languages. So maybe we have a situation where we have one, an island in which Protosakrat was spoken, and then one migration off in one direction, which gives us the Sakrat C languages, and one migration off in another direction, which gives us the Sakrat B languages, and then the A stay put. Maybe something like that. Actually, that sounds kind of cool, but we shouldn't call these B, D if we're having Sakrat C here. This is just going to get confusing. So let's just say green, the green region, purple 1, purple 2, purple 3, and blue 2, blue 3. And Cortana is in blue. Great, okay. So we're only using letters for one thing at a time. I think that's a mercy. So in this green region, this is where we get kranzlor and Protosakrat C. Maybe there are other Sakrat C, C languages, which we can make on another occasion. So Protosakrat C. Then we need a spot for Protosakrat B, and I'd like a little bit more time depth for this one. Or maybe, actually, I think maybe we should push this back a bit. So I'd like some more. Okay, so 1500. Then we want Sakrat B. I think we should have Sakrat B break off a bit before. Maybe around here. So this is our proto-language. And maybe we could have Sakrat B. Say we have a migration into this purple region. That's the Sakrat B speakers. And then it just diversifies from there. And then we could have Sakrat A somewhere in this blue region. So we have something like something a bit later for Protosakrat A. And then Protosakrat itself could be something around here. And so this could be the way that it happened. All right. So we're getting some theories about the fragrant coast. We want something nice smelling. Quain's, so Elijah says nice why do I keep saying spelling? Nice smelling. Quain says temperate 4 seasons, and then the fragrance comes from the flowers. Moon Truth is saying not a sulfury coast. Yeah, so Ship's saying something like more like a Mediterranean situation. And the strong winds from the sea, this is Moon Truther again, making the air smell salty. All right. So, okay, so then Sakrat, yes, Sakrat seems more tropical. We have a proto form for coconut. So we know that wherever Protosakrat is spoken, there have to be coconuts there. And let's populate some of our descendant languages as well. So we have Protosakrat B. Then we have Proto-Mnis-Hlasiut, which is the ancestor of both of our tonal languages that we made a few weeks ago. And where does that go? Somewhere in here. So Proto B breaks off into Proto-Mnis-Hlasiut and Proto B2. So I think what we'll do is we'll have Proto-Mnis-Hlasiut stay in purple 1 and Proto B2 can originate somewhere off in purple 3. So I'll just put these roughly at the same time depth, but we may want to change that. And then Proto-Mnis-Hlasiut will break off into Proto-Mnis sometime later, maybe around here. Do that. And then Proto-Hlasiut, which, for the sake of being simple, let's just put them at roughly the same time depth for now. See if I can optimize the width of these things so we can see more. And then we have the actual languages. Let's put it in roughly 500 years. Okay, that didn't work. I just want to copy the text, please. Okay. Good. There we go. That's what you love to see. Going down all the way into the present. And Sasiut. Also around the same values only, please. All right. Okay. Yeah, so the languages in which tone starts to develop are kind of they're often their own little area. And what we might do is have another language family that we develop that lives there that also has tone, and the whole thing becomes like an aerial situation. All right, let's catch up on the chat. Yes, Mi has such a beautiful tradition of poetry, expressing some of the most profound sentiments known to humankind. So it's truly something to behold. So what we may do then is have our Creole spoken in this same region. So maybe kranzlor ceases to be spoken. Lenethailef continues. But then we also have this situation. So then in the present day, we have, whether we want kranzlor to continue or to branch off into something else, I don't know. Let's say it doesn't continue to the present in that form. It may need some further development, but we at least have Lenethailef, Mi, Sasiut, and this Creole as languages that are all spoken contemporaneously at this sort of year zero present. Gotta hydrate. Oh, and stretch. Just sort of right over there. There we go. Definitely needed stretching. All right. Yeah, we're going to have a continuum. We're going to have a Lenethailef and Creole continuum. And then the question is, what are we going to do with Eustamia? And I'm kind of thinking maybe it could come to be a kind of literary language. And so we could have this interesting situation where you have Eustamia loans into Lenethailef. That could be kind of cool. But it itself is no longer spoken as a living language. Maybe it has some descendants, which we could have fun developing. So at present we have 1, 2, 3. We should talk about Sakrat A then, because we have worked on that a bit. So Sakrat A could be, well, we don't really have a descendant language for it, so we'll leave it. What else have we worked on? What else do we have to bring in? Oh yeah, Pequak. So Pequak needs a spot. So we have Proto B2 here. Then we have so Proto B2. These are just essentially different stages of the language. Proto B2A. Let's just give it a few hundred years between each of these. B2A1. And then we have Pequak as a spoken language. Clearly the best language. Okay. All right. This is cool. This is cool. I am... Okay. I'm going to stay on my feet here, and I'll catch up on the chat. Ka is saying, I can imagine a huge continent in the northwest region, and in the southeast region of the continent, there's a sort of an archipelago, and then towards the center, some islands and one big island in the southeast region. Okay, I'm gonna take a little screenshot of that comment there. There we go. Because we're gonna put it on our mood board. So all these suggestions, we're gonna put on a sort of a mood board, and then Lucy and I are gonna talk, and we're gonna see how we can make it happen. Yeah. Elijah, we could make a writing system adapted for Eustamia and then use it for Lenethailef as well. It's not that blue isn't populated anymore. It's just that we haven't really developed the A branch. So we can imagine, Sakrat A languages of some kind. And we don't really know much about this, these blue 2 and blue 3 yet. So maybe there is some other stuff going on there. Another family, perhaps. Yeah. So we've got now history stretching back to our earliest proto-language is Protosakrat, and it is spoken roughly 2,300 years before the present. So that's a decent span of history. We could probably do more, but we don't have any more fully developed languages to place in it unless we go take a look at the call languages. So we do have, I don't know if you remember this is a long time ago, but as we were working on Eustamia and the language that became Lenethailef, which you may recall as Lang 3B, we also have Lang 2A. See, I have this fixation with these names, these horrible names, 2A, 1A, 3B. But we have a sort of a sister language to Lenethailef, Lang 3A. So you could see some forms here. Instead of Avidoch, which is what happened with Lenethailef, it's Aidof. Instead of Haroil, it's Abel. So it's a language we haven't talked about really in quite a while. But maybe it needs to be placed somewhere around here. So let's add another column, and let's put this proto-language, protocol, everyone likes saying protocol, protocol 3, and then this is Lang 3A is spoken here. Or maybe it's comes in around here, and that could be spoken to the present day. Something like this. And we also have the 2 branch, which has forms like Swame and Ponaedu, Ogamne. Yeah, these are kind of cool. So let's put them in. There's also call 2, which will need, well, why don't we do this? Let's put this region over here, and then call this blue 1. And we can have protocol 2 hang out in this blue continent. BP means before present. So we're just counting backwards from some 0 date. which we're calling the present for the purposes of this project. Alrighty. So let's just catch up on the chat, and then we'll put in a little break because the good people of YouTube are going to want to get up and fetch a drink or something. So yeah, the question of time depth and the amount of divergence and the amount of linguistic change that's gone on, a very difficult thing to quantify or make theories about. There have been attempts, but they're not universally accepted that it's not universally accepted that there's a way of determining from the development of or from inspecting cognate sets that you can determine the time depth at which the proto-language occurred. And we all know cases where a language stays very well, at least a subset system of language, like the phonology or even the vowel system, stays static for 1,000 years and then abruptly changes in 100. English, the history of English and the English vowel system comes to mind when talking about that. Or if we look in the history of French, we see enormous phonological changes in just a few hundred years, and then that rate of change seems to slow down. And so it's dependent on all sorts of factors, hard to make generalizations. So what that means is we're free to do what we want, more or less, which is great. Okay, I'm going to put in a cut here. I'm going to bid farewell for now to YouTube. Thanks for joining us. We're doing something a little bit different here, making up history. So come back, join us. We'll keep going. Until next time. Right. Okay. So very, very, very good to see everyone here today. It's nice. It's nice to be able to do this standing up. I get to be more bouncy, just sort of this kind of action going on, which I didn't in that chair that I was sitting at before, and I can get close to the mic and I can do, IPA ASMR now again. So it's all sorts of good stuff, even if we don't have the ice cream elephant. Maybe we can arrange something, fly him up here. I don't know. Right. So I think what we will do next is, I'm a bit worried about this, but I think I'd like to sketch a little something. But you've seen me try to sketch, so I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to work at all. But nevertheless, we can put something together. You can laugh at the pain of watching me attempt to manipulate all these programs. All right, let me set myself up here with the tablet. And basically what we're going to have to do, it's been unplugged. Okay, well, new plan. We're not going to do that because the tablet has been unplugged and I do not know where the plug is or the cord. So why don't we fast forward into making some poetry. Let's do that. Let's work on some poetry. Let's work on some poetry in Lenethailef. And what I thought we might do, this might be a little anachronistic, but we have a wonderful poem in me that I would like to translate into Lenethailef. But I'd like to translate it into Lenethailef verse form, which is going to be very different from the me verse form. So maybe someone from the Lenethailef speaking region went on a vacation or went on a journey and encountered this beautiful poetic tradition, clearly the best and brightest of all of humanity working in me poetry. And this voyager decided to translate it into Lenethailef. So that's, I think, what we'll do. Sorry about the art, but it's probably for the best that you don't see it. All right. I have not seen the Phyrexian script. that's a Magic the Gathering reference, if I'm not mistaken. We gotta go very, very deep into like 12-year-old Colin's mind. Fetch out some of that stuff. Let's see. All right. So, okay, let's go in and let's start with some poetry. We'll get the Lenethailef grammar up. It's got to change the font size for this monitor. There we go. All right. The I'm rearranging Windows song, as everyone has come to know. We have our worksheet, we have our lexicon. Okay. And we're going to need to do some sound changes. So, give me just a moment, if you please, to get Lexergy open. So we're going to be needing to derive words. Perfect. All right. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so this poem. If you're not familiar with the poem, I think we should probably read it. We should read it first. All right, so I'll start. I'll introduce it first. Let's say hi to YouTube, and then we'll get going. YouTube. Goodness gracious, welcome back. We are about to do something very fun, which is we're about to expose more of the world to the poetic genius of the anonymous me poet that we explored not too long ago. So if you're not familiar, there is a beautiful poem that represents the true highest aspirations of all humanity. And we're going to translate that into Lenethailef and at the same time essentially create a poetic form that works well for Lenethailef. So we get to explore some translations, some poetry, make up some new vocabulary. So should be a good time. All right. So so maybe Quayne, would you mind if I brought up that recording? So I don't know. If you say so, I'll try and get it technically to work. Because I think that would be the best way to introduce it. So this poem, I'll give you a short introduction to it. I'll just scoot myself over to the side here, and we can look at this poem. And this poem is really beautiful. I'll give you the English translation. And it means, as soon as you cross the river, you will no more receive the blessings of me. The name of a goddess, by the way. Also the name of the language. You will suffer chickens devouring you, indeed. But it does not compare to the feeling of my broken heart. So it's a breakup poem. And we do potentially have a recording of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 30 seconds trying to get this to work. And if it does not work, we'll just leave it. I will attempt to do my pronunciation of it, but I think Quayne's rendition it cannot be bested. So I'm going to put myself over here. I'm going to fiddle around with things. This may be worth cutting from the eventual YouTube segment. We are not sure yet. We're going in. We're searching around. Let's see. Does it still exist? Okay, it does. So let's see if I can turn on desktop audio. All right, so I'm going to put this over here. This is going to be worth it. We are going to close this and okay. So here is the poem. And here is, hopefully, the recording.
Ca mau chào bể quê kình tại nhà ba lá cam mình cha ba ngoà tu ca tê tại quê à buồn giàu bê.
Tell me that came through okay. Yes. Okay, we're getting an awesome from the chat. Yeah, Quain. If I were wearing a hat, it would be off right now. That's a spectacular rendition. You really captured the emotion, the feeling of being devoured by a chicken. So, and you really get to see something interesting about the poetic form. We have all sorts of cool things going on in it. We have rhyme. First of all, it's probably the most obvious thing right off the bat. But we have a really cool poetic device. So the way that it works, here are the rules of what we're calling poetic form A. Me and my letters again. So a line is 6 syllables long. A line is broken into 2 half lines, separated by a caesura after the 3rd syllable. So it's a break in the line, which we notate with these 2 vertical lines here. The caesura, that break of each line, must be spanned by a word. So you cannot have a word end before the caesura. However, tone sandhi does not apply across the caesura. So normally in a polysyllabic word, in mi, you have rather extensive tone sandhi. But in this poetic form, when you cross the caesura, that tone sandhi is undone, or it doesn't occur. And the 4th rule is that the poem is arranged in rhyming couplets. So, yeah, again, my hat is off. So then, this is the poem that we have to translate into Lenethailef. But we have an issue that Lenethailef is a very different sounding language. And there are very few words with only 1 syllable. And so we're going to have a different poetic form in Lenethailef. Lenethailef is a language with a lot of schwas as well. So a lot of unstressed syllables. So this rhythm of stressed, unstressed might make more of an appearance in Lenethailef. Lenethailef is also not tonal. So lots of differences that in order to make it into a sort of native Lenethailef style poem, we're going to have to change it, and we're going to have to figure out what that kind of poem would be. So that's our task. So on the left, we have our Lenethailef sheet, and on the right, we have our mi sheet. So if you are rusty on your Lenethailef, I'll give you a sense of what it sounds like. So we have a sentence, mas maslachkas maslakoich, excuse me, or mas furcheth maslachush, mas heilen maslachofli, mas maslachush, mas maslachet, mas maslachofli. So these are a few sort of toy sentences that we made a long time ago now. My Lenethailef is certainly rusty. And we are going to try and translate this poem into Lenethailef. That's a challenge. Let's do it. All right. So Lenethailef is if we recall correctly, it is an SVO language. that descends from formerly SOV proto-language. So protocol is very strongly SOV. Lenethailef is an SVO language. So you have this construction here. The sun shines a great shining, which is sort of blatantly ripped off from the Semitic construction, but that's fine. And I forgot who to give credit to for that idea, but it's someone in the community. So thank you for that, and I apologize for forgetting who suggested it. The text, let's get the text bigger. Absolutely. Yeah, let's see, we're at 14 here. Let's go up to maybe 18. But then the danger is, of course, that we have to sort of figure out how to get as much in the screen, but also I'm aware some of you are probably watching on phones and it can't be easy to see small text there. So hopefully, I think this is probably a happy medium. I like this idea, Elijah, of alliteration. So maybe this could be something that we do. So let's take a look and let's start to get some of these words in. So roughly we have our SVO languages, our SVO language, which is Lenethailef. And so we're going to want something like as soon as you, my eternal problem, do not want it to make a link. As soon as you cross the river, accusative, as soon as. What do we have? We have some sort of special stuff going on with verbs in Lenethailef. I think we need to take a look at that. We have all sorts of these stems, or all sorts of these endings. Predicative, continuative, past, negative, presumptive. I think we need something like as soon as I need to look at protocol to see how these verbal forms emerged. All right, maybe we could put this into this presumptive form, which is kind of like a future, which has a lot of different meanings. Future, it's kind of a hortative thing as well. Could it be one of the conditionals? So our conditional, we have our indicative conditional, which is like when, whenever, if A then B. We could also have we could also consider the counterfactual conditional, if this happened, but it didn't. Maybe we could put it in conditional 1. This ending that has tohwe in protocol. So let's go back to Lenethailef and pardon me, I thought this was all 18-point font now. Okay, so let's scoot over here. And what is our conditional A or conditional 1? Okay, athis, athis, othis. So maybe instead of as soon as, we have something like this, where it's a bit ambiguous between as soon as or if or when. Yeah, I think indicative conditional is the one to go with. So conditional 1. This is our conditional 1 ending. And if we look back at the Lenethailef, this is tohwe is the ending. Do we have a word for cross in any of these? Go across, we do. Onakwala. All right, so then we just need to go into Lexergy. Onakwala. And we need to go find our grammar bit. Tohwe. And let's see what happens. Okay. Anagladas. All right. So that will end up being romanized as Enechladathes. Anagladas. And let's see if we have river. Let's try and get something fairly unpoetic first, and then we can play with it. Okay, so and let's bring all of this up to that 18-point font so everyone can see it well. River. We don't have a river. Okay, so we need a root for river. We have some roots here. Maybe we can use something like tamene as river, just so that we don't have to create anything new. So tamene. And I think we need an accusative ending, if I'm not mistaken. And what is our accusative ending? Ukwe. Tamenech. Okay, so that's what we get. Anagladas tamenech. And the romanization for Lenethailef is a little interesting. When we have the vowel A, it's spelled with this diacritic here. Anagladas temenech. And then we need U. Where does it live? I don't remember. Lexicon. So we can have something like 2SG, or did I say U, or where would I have put this? Always my glossing conventions. Do we even have a second person? No, it doesn't look like we do. So why don't we take something small and call it a second person pronoun. Maybe mita, because we have it here. So second person so that I can find it no matter what I search. Oh, Moontoother is so nice. So nice to be back with my keyboard. Oh, I love this keyboard. I just want to, there we go. It's like it was made for me. All right. So, and it doesn't have little stickers that have completely different letters on them than the actual letters that you type. I mean, I'm mainly a touch typer, but I'm not a touch typer on someone else's keyboard. And so I have to look down, and if I see U on the I and I click it, and I'm thinking U will come out, but I comes out, and then I have to think, okay, well, the thing with the P is actually the U, and it's just, it's a disaster. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Lenethailef is okay. Let's clarify some of these things about the pronouns. Lenethailef does not inflect for person. That's right. We could have some fun with the pronouns. Maybe not have an open class for pronouns. Have elaborate elaborate rules as to when you can use what kind of pronoun and politeness and formality levels. We could do something like that. We could only refer by name in this language, but then, if that's true, what does a translator do? When a translator comes to a poem that has this ka pronoun, which is a pronoun meaning you. It's sort of I believe in me, it's a formal, or it's a poetic, it's a pronoun used in poetry specifically. It comes from the word for rider, which actually is the word sakrat in the proto language. Incidentally, that's a little Easter egg. So what is a translator to do? Let's see what it looks like with this mita. And it may be interesting. It may sound good. It may not. Let's find out. What does mita give us? Myth. That does sound kind of good. Myth and aglavis temanech. Myth and aglavis temanech. Okay, we're getting some good ideas in the chat about pronouns. So, well, Quain, it could be prodrop. I don't think we've made any decisions about that yet. So this could be, other than being used for you, maybe it's just used for a person. It's the word for a person, or it's the word for Lord or something like that. In fact, that does sound kind of cool. So it's the word for Lord, and it's used in translating Sakrat poetry. So say maybe we don't have a pronoun for a second person pronoun, but when it's required, as in translating this poetry, we use a kind of a calque. So myth might be considered, maybe this is the word for rider, and the person who translated it is aware that in mi, ka means rider as well. Maybe that happened. Rider, Lord, you, second person. I like that. Okay. So, myth and agladas temanech. Already, I'm sensing a bit of rhythm. Dun da 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 da. Dun da 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 da. Okay. All right. Well, we'll ponder what that might mean. Let's translate the next line. Which is where? Here. Not anymore receive the blessings of me. Okay. All right. I don't think we have the words for these, so bless, I don't think we have. Do we have receive? No. Anymore? No. And of course, me will be a loan word. So we need some words. Well, at least we have negation. And we have maybe we can use now, a word for now, to mean with a negation to mean not anymore. So let's put that in. I think we're going to need to make some new words. But maybe suhuta could be our receive. And I don't think we don't have wakwama, do we? No. So maybe, well, let's come up with some new forms. Chat. It is now time to call upon your help. We need some new forms, and I'm going to bring up the phonology of the proto-language. It's around here somewhere, I swear. Here we go. Okay, let's bring this up to a nice font size. No, this is the Eustamia. Darn it. Okay. Okay, I don't think I have anywhere where I've just laid out the phonology of the proto-language. Unfortunate. Well, what I'll do, I'll show you some forms. I'll tell you that this is a CV language. And if you have anything that strikes you as an interesting form, shout it out to the chat. While I do this, I'm actually going to build the inventory of protocol. So forget what I just said. I'm going to do this. Proto grammar. Where is our phonology? No, I have to do phonology. Okay. Yeah, you can tell it's been like 3 months since I've been in the spreadsheet. Okay, this is the phonology of protocol. Let's boost this up to 18 points. And we have a CV syllable structure. We have a strict requirement that morphemes cannot be 4 syllables long or longer. So 3 syllables or fewer. And yeah, be my guest. Okay, thank you, Hannah. That's great. I'm going to find a spot to put these. Let's put them in here. Okay, so we have Hana, we have Fayuli, we have Huahua. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So I'm going to put these in Lexergy. Beautiful. Suso, Quosapa, Nipe, and Luana for bless. Luana. I like that. Looks like the chat just caught up on screen. That's kind of special. Asafa Kuhuli Quela. Okay, perfect. I'm going to run these through, and then we will probably have everything we need for the rest of the poem. Hopefully. Let's see. Okay. So let's put these. We don't need the inputs. Let's go back and let's look at our lexicon. That's the wrong lexicon. We'll just ignore these little stress symbols. Actually, we'll just delete them. I just meant this sheet. There we go. That didn't work. That just didn't work at all. That's great. Okay, but it's fine. We're going to be fine. So this is going to go into... what am I doing? Hide. So this belongs here. And this belongs here. Okay. So we had Luana or Luana being bless. So it kind of becomes Lun. That's kind of awesome. Kwahua became Kus. Yeah. Yeah, there's some special stuff going on in these sound changes. All right. Okay, so this is going to be now, receive, negative. What order do we have for noun, genitive noun for in Lenethailef? I don't think we've discussed this. Well, let's say for now that it is genitive noun, possessor, possessum. So, yin, blessing. Okay, so this is what we want in gloss form. Now we need to put make some associations. So maybe now could be Khan. So Khan, receive. What did we say for receive? Suhuta. Sut. Perfect. Okay, so we need the negative marker. Okay, where's the negative marker? It's in here somewhere, I swear. It is... I'm failing. Nu. Right. Right, okay. So then we need Suhuta Nu. Which becomes Suth for some reason. That's interesting. I'm assuming what happened is having that Nu on there preserved the vowel long enough to allow T to spirantize into th. And then this vowel dropped off, giving something like Suthen, and then the consonant also dropped off, giving Suth. I think we will probably regularize that. What did we have here? Negative. Yeah, it's an stem, and these stems are a bit irregular. Well, we can leave it for now. We may come back to that. All right, so let's put that in. Khan Suth. And then how are we going to adapt this word to me? I think it would be something like mean. I don't think we have anything like ye going on in this language. Let's see what happens if I put this in. Yeah, no. Breaks the rules. Okay, so let's say mean will be the adaptation of me. Yeah, this is Lexergy. Oh, yeah. Quain's already got it. So this is what I'm thinking. If we come in with me And we have that nasalization that's coming into a language that does not have contrastive nasalization. Quain is suggesting that the nasalization may be lost. I'm trying to think of any examples of languages where nasal vowels have been loan words. I mean, the only one that comes to mind is English. And from French, I guess, would be the second part of that sentence. And yeah, I'm actually thinking of the adaptation of some of those loan words. And I think we do lose the nasalization a lot of the time. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Although me seems very, very, it's just a CV. It's so small. What are we going to do? How are we going to make that into a genitive case? Well, it's not going to have any stem changes. So then we can just put in, nominative and genitive are syncretized. So me, and then blessing. So we have a form. We have a form that, the substantive form, or chukwa, rather. It has an allomorphy, but it's not going to be relevant for this form. And we can put this in. So we wanted Luana, chukwa. Oh, it doesn't like it. Every time. These sound changes are some of the most complicated that I've ever done. And you can see it goes down to line 251. I know by some people's standards that's not nothing, but that's not very much. But for me, it was decent because I was learning Lexergy as I was doing it. Okay, so let's focus. So we have this word blessing, which is lun. Maybe we can have a later nominalization strategy that does not change the stem. Yeah, let's do that. We'll have a nominalization strategy that does not change the stem, and maybe we can borrow it from Eustamia. It's like the equivalent of English Asian. So let's do that. Let's look at Eustamia and see what it does. Eustamia grammar, it has this substantive form uk. So maybe what we could do is just put uk. So lunuk. And so this would be blessing. And then we would have to make this into accusative. And this would take whatever the most regular form is. Let's see. Let's find one that doesn't. We need an inflectional class for a non-ablating inflectional class. Well, we don't need it, but it would be kind of nice to have. So I'm kind of going off over the map here as I'm getting myself reaccustomed to Lenethailef. Yeah, we could. Yeah, maybe that's Elijah. That maybe that's a better idea. Is just to put it in one of the existing declensions. And in that case, if we do it, Timon is river, by the way. We've decided on that now. And then what declension would it be? We could put it into the A stem. Let's make these a bit bigger so we could see. Yeah, we could put it into the A stem. Lunuk Köch. Gaan suth mi luna Köch. Yeah, so then the couplet would be Mith yn y gladdas tabanech gaan suth mi luna Köch. All right, this needs some work, but we need to put in a break for YouTube because, again, stretch, hydrate, so important. I wouldn't want to do anything to endanger the good people of YouTube. So thank you so much for joining us as we struggle through and try to translate some poetry from one conlang into another. Please do come back and join us for next time because we're going to be doing more weird stuff like this. All right, so until then, we'll freeze frame. Okay. I'm thinking I don't really love having euch as such a prominent ending. If this is our unmarked, if the A stems are our unmarked class, then we're gonna have euch everywhere. I don't know. I'd rather have eich. So maybe we'll do that. We'll put it into the. Here, what stem is that? E stem. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. All right. See you, Moon Truther. Thanks for joining us. We have a bit more to do. We have half an hour left, so let's jump back in and try and finish this poem. All right. So let's bring YouTube back into the picture. YouTube, welcome back. We've got a poem that we are translating from our conlang mi to our other conlang, Lenethailef. And we're trying to work out what Lenethailef poetry might sound like in the process, as well as making a bunch of new decisions about vocabulary and grammar and whatnot. So, without further ado, let's jump back to the spreadsheet, a phrase that fills everyone's heart with joy. All right, back to the spreadsheet. We have our little couplet here. The one thing that we're going to change is we're going to change euch to eich. So here's our couplet so far. Mith yn y gladdas tamanech, chan suth mi lunokech. Excuse me. For an SVO language, we're going to have a lot of accusative endings at the ends of lines. And I think it's going to get a bit samey. It's going to be babada babada beich, babada babada beich, babada babada beich, babada babada beich. I don't see it being very interesting. I think maybe we will have to avoid using rhyme because it's too easy and it doesn't really show any artistry if all you have to do is put an accusative case at the end of a line in the right declension class. So what else can we do? We could explore alliteration. That's one thing we could do. We could what could we do? Mith yn y gladdas tamanech, chan suth mi lunoketh. Chan suth mi lunoketh. Mith yn y gladdas tamanech, chan suth mi lunoketh. I think that's the vibe. So there are three stresses in the per line, 3 feet. So let's add an additional line here. So mith anaglathostamenech Chan Suth Mi Lunu Keith. So maybe the rule is we have these feet which are right-headed. So, oops. So the head of the foot comes at the end, and you can have any number of unstressed syllables before that. So that works, but there's something a bit unpleasant about this second line. I think it's the clash here. Chan Suth Mi Lunukeith. Lunukeich. Gotta stop doing that. Mith and agladas tamanech. Chan Suth Mi Lunukeich. Chat, thoughts? Okay. All right, so maybe we can swallow schwas. Mith nagladas. So especially mith naglad mith. Or maybe schwas are just invisible to the meter. Mith nagladas temanech. Like in some, I think there's some. No, I'm out of my depths here a bit, but I think there are some forms of English poetry in which we're only, well, I mean, Old English poetry is one, in which we only care about stressed syllables. We don't even count unstressed syllables. They can do whatever they want. They can have as many as they can, just proliferate and cover the line. As long as the stressed syllables are under control, then it's valid. So mith and agladas temanech chansuth mi lunukeich. I think I keep saying temaneth. The fact that I keep saying temaneth kind of makes me want to change it to temaneth. Might be something we do. Okay. Yes, word order does come under syntax. Da 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 da. Anagladas temanech. Mith anagladas temanech. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it should work. Chansuth mi lunukeith. Keich. Again. Well then, but what do we think about the rhyme, chat? It's too easy. It's just accusatives. Ooh. Elijah, add a particle in between sooth and me. Yeah, so something in here. Now, receive, never. So do we have a never? I don't think we have a never. I'm lost. I'm like a child who's wandered into a movie. All right, so I'm out of my element. Where is the lexicon? Never? No. All right, but we have all these new words, so let's use one. Maybe quahua is going to be our never. Khansuth kus mi lunukeith. All right. Double negatives. Yeah, so whether this is never or ever, unspecified yet. We may have double negatives, we may not. Gender system. Do we have a gender system in this line? We do not, I think, have a gender system as of yet. But what if we had case only showing up on like definite objects? So if an object is definite, it shows up with accusative. Otherwise, it's showing up as nominative / genitive, which are syncretic in Lenethailef. Yeah, I kind of like that actually. Mi lunukeith kus khansuth. Oh, yeah. If we play with the word order, we could be a little less, samey. So, mi lunukeith. Let's make this line again. Mi lunukeith. What was Jack's suggestion? Kus khansuth. Oops, this should be khan. Sort of half romanized, half not. Goodness gracious. All right, so then we would have me, genitive, blessing, accusative, never, now, receive, negative. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So then we can get rid of this. And then we have mith and agladas tamanech. Mi lunukeith kus khansuth. Kus khansuth. Great. Beautiful. I like that. Mith and agladas tamanech. Mi lunukeith kus khansuth. Whoa, I just had an idea. What if you had to rhyme, but not with the final foot? So the final foot of the first line has to rhyme with the, second foot of the second line. That might give it some energy. So, mith and agladas tamanech, mi lunukeith kus khansuth, and then the second foot of the third line has to rhyme with suth. And then it just keeps going from there. So the third foot of the first line rhymes with the second foot of the second line. The third foot of the second line rhymes with the second foot of the third line, and so on and so forth, giving it some sort of momentum. Yes. So this is something that I see. This is, I guess, part of the way that I see poetic systems, and I'm by no means an expert. But there are tendencies that are keeping things static and tying things together, and there are tendencies that are pushing things apart and causing sort of disharmony. So if you have too much harmony in a poem, it's static, it's predictable. If you have too much disharmony in a poem, it doesn't feel like a poem at all. It just feels like random stuff thrown together. Having that tension between the two creates some interest. And we did that in Ming with our line over the caesura thing. So then we have to come up with some way of getting us a sooth, an ooth in this third line. So what is, oh, the third line's the best one. Let's put it back. Suffer chicken to devour you. Emphasis, emphatic. Okay. So here we could do something like chicken devour. This is that presumptive, I think. Chickens devour you. Something like this, although we can play with this. So I'm pretty sure we don't have a word for chicken. So let's come up with one of those. And it would be cool if we could make this onomatopoeic as well. So let's Lexergy. Buka. Qua. Bukwa qua. Vurath. Yeah. Okay. Vurath. Did we? Oh no, we don't have B. So pukwa qua. Fuchath. Fuchath. Okay. So that's our word for chicken. I'm always losing my place. It's terrible. Why does this happen? So let's put our pukakwa, and we have fugath. Okay. So then we have fugath. Looks a bit wrong, but whatever. And then myth is going to be mita uque for the accusative form. Madhoich. That's you. And then we need a way, well, we need our devour word. And then we also need a way to rhyme with sooth. So let's put our thinking caps on, firmly on. I'm sure we don't have a word for devour. Do we have eat? We don't have anything like that. All right. Let's put eat as fayuli, so hel. And let's put, oh, did I make a mistake? Yeah, you're right. It should be furach. Furach. I don't know why I keep putting all these velar fricatives into turning all these velar fricatives into dental fricatives. It's a mystery. Furach. All right, so furach. And then we need fayuli, which is going to be eat, which is going to give us hel. And then we need the presumptive form of that. So we go back to the grammar. And we have achwe. So this is not going to get us what we need. So we're going to need another word in there. Let's put this. Halish. Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. Foolish Halith Mathoich. I think we can pro drop this U. And so this will give us another foot to work with so that we can have Suth in the second position. So we have Fugach something Halish Fugach something. What's this something going to be? It has to end in uth. All right, do we have any inflectional forms that end in uth? Let's go back to Lenethailef. Let's check it out. It looks like we do not. So it's going to have to be, we're going to have to accomplish this by using some sort of an adverb or something that doesn't decline, because we have no way of getting it as part of our inflection. How are we going to translate this suffer, this malefactive passive? That could be our savior here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. Because we don't have... We haven't been messing around with the argument structure, so I'm not sure exactly what passives would even look like in the call languages. Yeah. Maybe what we could do is we could make use of our emphatic. Because then we can do whatever we want, really. We have this kind of interjection. We could just do a passive form that ends in uth. I'm reticent to make any gigantic grammatical decisions, though, based on this one rhyme. Because I don't really want to have an inflected passive. I don't know. So why don't we could make a protoform similar to the one that, Elijah, that birthed Suth, and just use it for this emphatic. I think this is somewhat of the coward's way out, something of the coward's way out, but let's do it for now because I do not know what else to do. So what could we do for some sort of emphatic, like alas particle? It's going to have to end in something like, uta. Something like menuta, I think would do it. Meneth, no. Muta, muth. Chuth. Luta, luth. Aluta, alath. Aluchuta, aluth. So there are different ways of getting it. Let's do this, aluchuta, which gives us aluth. So this gives us vorige luth gelish. So mith en agladas temenech Mi lunokech kus chansuth, fuge geluth gelish, and then maybe we can finish off in the next 10 minutes with the last line. Not compare to the feeling of my broken heart. Okay. So what can we do here? Something like, where is our lexicon? Do we have something like reach? We could use something, maybe we have a word that means reach. What would be a good word for reach? Maybe kuil, reach. So this will have to go into the negative. So kuhuli. And our negative is what? Na? Nu. Kuhulinu. Kuilan. All right, so then we get something like reach negative. Where is our U umlaut? It lives in this spreadsheet. I. Kui. What did we say? Kuilan. That's one word we need. Does not reach. Broken heart. And by reach, I mean it does not reach the level of. It's not comparable to. Yes. Let's have, oh my goodness. Let's have the last foot of the fourth line rhyme with the second foot of the first. It's the circle of life. Yes. Which is an lath. So do we have anything that can do that in our grammar? Ath. I don't believe we do. So maybe we can use It's not reach. We need a word for like feeling or pain. This is going to be really hard because we don't have anything that ends in lath or ath. All right, well, let's like make suso be feel. And then we could use another one of these uk borrowed nominalizations from Susukeich. And then Kuilen. So we have Susukeich. And we need our friend in here to give us ath. All right. Oh, that's true. Okay, so we're in a lot of trouble. So what we need to do then is, I think we need to rethink this line. Let's have a word like be distant. We'll call it nif. And then we can use the presumptive form. It will be distant. Which would be... What did we have? Yeah, achwe. Nipe achwe. Navesh. Navesh. Okay, it needs to be something that ends in E. So let's say this is nipi. Navish. Okay, good. Kuilan Navish. So we don't have to have Kuilan anymore. But we need to have something like distant presumptive. And then we need ath at the end of this. So we could put susuke at the start. Oops. Susuke, navish, and then something ath. It is distant from the feeling. Okay, maybe we don't have a lot of room here. So what we could do is maybe say something like distant from my feeling, and not specify that's the feeling of a broken heart. Or, oh no, yeah, we could put in this heartbreak word because the genitive has no ending. So yes, if we use that, then we could do it. Okay, something like heartbreak, pain. Let's say pain, and let's make it something that ends in ath. So what would that be? Do we have anything on hand? I don't think so. Do we have anything in the dictionary? No. All right, so to make ath, we need something like ata, machata, something like that. Math. Okay. But we have that restriction that we can only have 3 syllables in a morpheme, so machata going to math. So this would mean it will be distant from the feeling of pain. Maybe we could put in of my pain. We don't have a first person pronoun in here. Do we? I. Oh, that's not going to help. First, no. Why don't we do something like servant as the origin for the first person? Just because we're shamelessly stealing from certain traditions here, not naming any names. So we need a short word that means servant. Maybe kosapa. So this could be okay. So then this would work. The pain of Or we could do what Quain suggests and come up with a word for heart. What about this sefo, or sufo, rather? Sef. So then we could do sef, heart, gen, pain, gen. Susukeich, navish, sef math. So then the whole poem would be Mith and agladas tamaneich, mi lunukeich kus chansuth, fura chaluth helish, susukeich, navish, sef math. That's kind of cool. I think we've done it. And just in time too, because it is 4, and it is time for me to rest. And it's time for you to rest. I'm going to come back over here to the main camera and say thank you. Thank you so much for joining as we've rather laboriously and arduously come up with a translation for, again, I think probably the best poem ever written by humans. So now it's been translated into Lenethailef, and we've built the foundations of a poetic form in Lenethailef, which is a kind of a cool one. I think it turned out really nicely. Thank you all so much, chat. This has been a lot of fun. So YouTube, I'll talk to you now. Thank you, and come back soon, because you've seen what we do. You know if you like it. If you like it, there's going to be a lot more of it. So come back, and we will see you next time. All right. That was cool. My goodness. Thank you all for coming back and for joining me in the inaugural Back in Canada stream. This has been a lot of fun. I like the setup here, I have to say. I'm very appreciative of almost every aspect of it, other than the fact that it's on a Windows machine and I don't always avoid triggering that Cortana thing. But what can you do? This is what we're here for. This is what we were put on this earth for, to do bizarre things like make up poetic systems and then make up other poetic systems that we translate from the other systems into. The point is we have fun. And isn't that what it's all about? Are there any things that I have to tell you? Oh, there is one thing. I am launching an Old English course this summer. #OldEnglishSummer. That's the hashtag that I've used and probably no one else will ever use, but there is a hashtag. It's #OldEnglishSummer. The course is called Baby Steps to Beowulf. So if you're interested in that, I will drop a link into Discord for that later on today. The page is up, and so we can all spend our summer being mega nerds if we so desire. Anyway, that's all for me. If you have not seen the interview I did with Jeffrey Punsky, I would recommend that too. We talked a lot about sort of the intersection between conlanging and linguistics. Jeffrey is a linguist as well. He and I were grad school classmates, and he's co-edited the book Language Invention and Linguistics Pedagogy. Great book. It's got articles by all sorts of everyone. It's a who's who of conlangers and linguists interested in conlanging. So I highly recommend checking out that interview, because we talk about a lot of the sort of interesting things that come up for linguists who become conlangers and conlangers who become linguists. So that's me. That's all. That's my spiel. So thanks so much, everyone. And we'll see you again on Tuesday when we will have more fun, I think, starting to work on the Creole of the Sakrat called Creole. And other than that, have a great weekend. We'll see you then. And away I go.